You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Hart of Dixie After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Hart of Dixie After Show.
Ready? Here it goes. Bing is for doing. We're back with another Hart of Dixie After Show. We're in episode 14, season 2, called Take Me Home, Country Roads. I'm your host, Whitney Lane, and I'm joined with...
Yes, hi everybody. I am Paige Sullivan.
I'm Christine Archer. Hi guys, I'm Michelle Renee.
And we have a special guest tonight, shaking his head along with the music. Would you like to introduce yourself? You should know that by now, right?
What's up, everybody? Scott Porter.
Who plays George Tucker on the show, so we're happy to have him today to help us break down the episode and kind of tell us more about what's going on with him. So let's jump right into the episode, kind of break it down for you today. We got to talk about Zoe and Wade because it always seems to open and close with that couple, so we might as well jump in with them. And Wade is feeling a little bit deprived, right? What'd you think of this?
Personally, I'm annoyed with Zoe.
Okay.
I think Wade fought really long and hard for her against George over here, and he won the battle, or so he thought, and it seems as though this relationship just isn't going his way. Every week it's something that he needs from her. You know, he wanted more intimacy, he wants more attention, and she's just in her own bubble. You know, she's in Zoe world, and I don't think she's giving him, you know, it's a two-way street in a relationship, and I think it's very one-way right now.
I would agree. And I think that last week we kind of saw him compromising. Was it last week or was it the week before with the whole like you and Tansy and
Yes,
the
George's
couple of the
parents.
double dates? And
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, he was almost seemed to be compromising and kind of,
Shaking it off.
you know, like, okay, I'll deal with it. But now I feel like in this episode, it's more so moving towards him getting a little bit annoyed. So I'm going to save it for predictions, but I could see that going south.
I think Wade these days takes a lot from Zoe. Like, at first, I mean, he was very iffy with the whole relationship, and now she's, like, giving him a lot of crap from week to week, and I'm surprised he's putting up with it as well as he is.
I feel like that, I don't know. I don't completely agree. I feel like she challenges him a little bit. Like, I mean, I know she says things that I don't agree with. I don't think she's the nicest person to him sometimes, but like, she's kind of pushing him. He's looking back into that whole bar situation and like, you know, starting to think about his life a little bit more, which I think is important. What do you think about the whole Zoe Wade situation?
You know, I think that they complement each other pretty well, but I think there is still such a gap between them as people. And a lot of people like to say opposites attract.
Yeah.
But there comes a point when two people are just so different that you're going to have these spots where they're trying to figure each other out. Wade wants what he wants when he wants it. Let's go away for the weekend. Well, you know, she's a very type A personality. She's very career oriented. The whole reason she moved to Bluebell was that so she could go back to New York and continue her career. She's made a lot of changes. So I think over the course of the series, this is a different Zoe. And, you know, tigers don't change their stripes that easily. And there's going to be these things that come up. Each of the characters in the show are rooted in some type of issue. And, you know, we've seen them all kind of manifest themselves this season. But, you know, at the same time, you know, George and Wade have issues because of all their history together, but George understands how Wade works, and Zoe's still learning how he does work. And he's learning a lot about himself because of it. So bumps in the road, but I don't think it's necessarily that Zoe is in the wrong all the time. You know, he went to a strip club in Pioneer days and didn't tell her about it and lied about it. And, you know, I think the show just doesn't spend as much time with what he does wrong as they do with what Zoe does wrong because this is her story. At the end of the day, It's really Zoe's story. So.
I would agree. And, I think for Zoe, too, she moves down to Bluebell, and she wants kind of that, she wants people to start to notice her. She wants to be the town doctor. She's finally stepping up. And so she's getting a little more recognition for all that she does. And I think she likes that. She obviously wanted to be around it. She's always put her career first, I think. So, I don't know. I would agree with that. I think that Wade does not always act the way he should as a boyfriend, in my opinion. And so when it comes down to it, they got to kind of balance each other out for that stuff.
Yeah, I think it was frustrating to see her choosing work over him, but at the same time, it also means that she's obviously putting more effort and more heart into like being in Bluebell and maybe like making this a long-term thing.
But the question becomes, I guess I'm the only guy in the room, so
Yeah.
there you go. The question becomes, when would Wade not give up work to go, fool around with Zoe all day? He would always just leave work because he doesn't really care. So I think that's where the stark difference is. And it looks like Zoe is really choosing work over him, but she is one of 2 doctors in town.
Right.
He's a bartender, and this is where I can speak for personal. Wilson and I have had numerous conversations about where we come from, and as far as the characters go, George and Wade. And a lot of George's constant frustration with Wade is Wade could be so much more than he chooses to be. But we all have circumstances in our life. We've all lost parents like he has, or have had home issues, or, feel like you're from the wrong side of the tracks. But some people rise above, and some people use it to stay complacent and happy and kind of a little bit lazy. And, and that's where George, he's just like, come on, man. You could be so much more. Just be so much more. And I think that's what's really awesome about what Zoe's doing with Wade, is because now he's thinking, maybe I do finally need to find a greater purpose in life so I can be everything that this woman wants and needs out of somebody. I think it's, kind of cool. So from the guy's perspective, I would want a woman to push me and to have her own ambition. And, we see enough of them really having nice little moments. So that, tonight, even when she chooses work, I think it balances out. I don't know.
Yeah, she definitely cares, and I think it also, it just shows, I don't think he's dumb. I think he's a very smart guy. I always kind of give him the benefit of the doubt, at least Wade's character, because he does try, I think he handles situations with Zoe so much more maturely than sometimes I thought Tansy did on the show. And I was just like, he can handle it. He knows what he's doing. But then it always begs the question, because we've always talked about, the whole love triangle between George and Wade and Zoe. And George and Zoe just fit so much better together, or complement each other in terms of their goals and their careers and things like that. So, but at the same time, it's like we all kind of root for Wade and Zoe to work out. It's like the underdog or something,
Yeah.
But in regards to kind of what you mentioned earlier, everybody's evolved in extreme amounts this season. Season 1 to season 2, the characters are completely different people. They've all changed. George and Lemon are out of a 15-year relationship, and that in itself evolves somebody's life drastically.
Yeah.
And this episode, seeing Lemon even say, I'm a better person, I'm Lemon 2.0, I think they're all, George 2.0, Zoe 2.0, I think they're all a different person now, and they kind of, we as viewers have to deal with that now, because we know Zoe is a certain person, or Wade or George, and now they're different, so we have to evolve our thoughts of that character.
How do you feel like your character has changed? Because like she said, every character has changed a lot since the last season.
It's funny. Twitter changes the way that you work as an actor. It just does. Being on the CW, they immediately send you an email as soon as you get cast on the network. Please get social networking. Please get Twitter. Please, and it's been very cool. But at the same time, I don't read message boards. I try not to read fan boards or any of those things, because you don't want your work and the character that you have built to be affected by what you think people are saying out in the world. But now that I'm on Twitter, there's a direct line to me to hear all of these things. George is boring, George is this, George is that, I think as George's evolution in the first season, he was trying to fix something that was broken, and he didn't know what it was. And he muted himself to try and pour everything he had into Lemon and also trying to guard himself against feelings that were manifesting themselves for another person. He was trying to not get emotionally attached anywhere else and fix what was broken. And that's what George's issue is that he's always focused on everyone else, and then gets himself in a rut of trouble because he's never allowing himself to be honest. So earlier this season, Lemon and him have a moment after the pregnancy scare with Lemon and George, where George just very simply goes, everything else in my life, I don't need it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm here for you. If you're pregnant, we're going to have a baby. I'm going to be like the most perfect dad. I'm going to be here for you. Maybe we can get this thing started. And he was just going to give everything up in his life again. And she called him out on it. She said, look, you can't do that. People end up getting hurt because you're not being honest. And so I think that's the biggest change, I think, for George this season, is that he has started to focus on himself and what he wants and what he wants to do. And I think it took him a little while, but now he's completely himself again. I feel like this is the George that existed before Lemon and he had problems. And now we're starting to see the old George again. He's fun. He can be fun. There was flashes of it in the first season, but they've allowed me to do a lot more this year. And, hopefully he's not as boring to everybody out there. But, he's moving forward. He's learned how to date as an adult, which is something he never had to do. He started a relationship at 15 years old. Can you imagine being a sophomore in high school and then never dating anyone else until you're like...
Paige can.
Yeah.
Whitney can.
Okay.
It happens, right?
But-
Small towns.
Well, I wouldn't know what to do right now
But,
if
yeah.
I were single.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
I would have
then
no idea.
Your life turns upside down, and then what do you do? And I'm from Nebraska, so I understand a lot of this.
Small
as well.
town.
Yeah, but I think George's evolution is not as drastic as everyone else's. But I think in tonight's episode, especially, you see even with Lemon, old character traits are going to manifest themselves again, and they're going to for each of the characters. And I think that's kind of what this episode kind of was about. Zoe's old type A personality started coming back around. Lemon, who for my money, I think is being a little bit harsh with Annabeth, but I don't know because I'm not, I've never been in that situation. But, I think that Lemon there's a music track that they play for Lemon on the show when she starts getting conniving. And you heard it slowly coming into the show tonight. And I was
That's
like, oh, the
interesting.
music's coming back. Oh, it's coming back.
You can tell.
Yeah, she's going to get started again. But, I think, it's been a lot of fun to watch everybody move forward.
Right. I mean, George has kind of always been the stable guy, though, the good guy. So I don't necessarily think you would see that much change. He's always been the one that's kind of there for everybody else. But, I mean, now starting with, like, Tansy, and I guess he also dated Shelby there for a little bit, I don't know. It's hard I think for me to watch when I'm like, that doesn't seem like the George's type of girl kind of thing, It wouldn't seem like the type he would go for. But, I mean, I guess he's only been with one, so you really don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the balance we talked about earlier. It's, Zoe and Wade shouldn't, I guess, naturally work, but they do because they give each other something that they need. And he needed spontaneity in his life. He needed to not know, every time he came home. I think last week was the flu episode, and you hear Lemon say, oh my God, a man's coming over to the house and we're going to have sex. I used to know what this was, and that tells a lot about George and Lemon's relationship and what it had become. It had become very static and very, I got to go to work until 7, and I come home, and maybe a couple times a month, you and I'll have a nice night. And she, she was frightened at the aspect of it, and George needed the same thing as well. He needed to break out of the routine, and it's a small town, so you're gonna date somebody that maybe you wouldn't have dated, and you're going to find out wonderful things about yourself through them. So
Right.
I love George and Tansy. And, you'll see Zoe and George still have awkward moments here and there, but it's getting much easier for George to deal with them because he really is actually moved on. And he's really happy now, and it wouldn't happen without Tansy. So.
Do you think in the future, I know you said obviously George has changed a lot and you think he's become more himself this season than maybe in last season. Do you think he will end, I mean, this is a lot of predictions, I guess, and don't spoil anything, but do you think he will end up with someone more like Tansy or someone more like Zoe or Lemon?
I don't know who he's going to end up with. I think he's still growing, and you'll see in the next couple of weeks that George and Tansy have their moments where he says, look, you get a little crazy sometimes, and I can't do crazy anymore. And, these are things that George is starting to say. There's an ultimatum that's going to come up very soon that Tansy throws down to George. And it's something that George really wants to do, and he needs to help somebody out with the situation. And she says, you can't do it. If you do it, we're breaking up. And he says, look, I was with somebody for 15 years who pick my socks and tie combination every day. Like, I cannot
Super controlling.
have you tell me what to do. So I'm going to do this, and you can either accept it and accept me doing this, or we're going to have a problem. We need to deal with these things head on, as opposed to just going, okay, you're right, and putting it away and letting it blow up in their faces like it did for Lemon
Right.
and George last year. So I think it could work with Tansy, but I think ultimately there's a lot to explore for George and Zoe. I think in your life you meet people that the timing's just never right, and you always wonder what could have been, and until I think they get that out of their system at some point. Now, we haven't shot anything, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I think that's part of the allure of the two of them,
Definitely.
George and Zoe. So I think Lemon and George are going to be friends, but I don't know that he could do that again. I think there's a great amount of betrayal there. There's a great amount of hurt that I think still exists, and something that you can't quite get over. They're going to always care for each other as friends, but it's kind of like a doomed relationship at this point. But, I think.
Well, I think they'll both move on. I mean, in my opinion, it seems like they both already moved on to the friend level very quickly, which says a lot about the relationship they were in if they were both able to move on this quickly. But for me, personally, this season, for George, I like seeing him living on a boat and having fun, because I kind of thought post-Lemon, if it didn't work out with Zoe, like we were seeing, she said, date people. If it were me, I would have been like, I'm going back to New York. I'm going to be a big-time lawyer. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Because what else other than, family and friends? But Lemon was the reason you were still there. So it's kind of...
Yeah, but Jonah said something in tonight's episode, which is Travis Van Winkle. I've actually known him for a while. Really great guy, and I love his character. His addition to the show is really great. He's kind of like a 50-50 Wade and
Yeah, that's what I was
George
going to
mix.
say.
Yeah, he really is.
I like it.
Which is he's a bit of a scoundrel, but we'll see how this all plays out. But he said, it's really tough to leave this town. And in the pilot, when George is talking to Zoe, he says, I woke up dreaming of sand beneath my feet and being able to see the stars at night, which makes me think that it was more than just Lemon that brought him back. So for George to jump ship that quickly, I don't know if it would necessarily happen. But, we'll see where the future takes him. I think he really lit out on his own, and he's one of the few in town that has done it, and he's seen the outside world, and I think maybe he's comfortable to come back. He's just got to find the right girl to stay there with.
Settle down with, yeah. That makes sense. So, I feel like the small town life kind of does that. You always have some attachment to it to kind of bring you home, I think. So, well, let's talk a little bit about just tonight and losing Dolly Parton, because I'm sure that was interesting to shoot. Because you all shoot at Warner Brothers, right?
Yes.
So the whole water part of it, when you actually found Dolly Parton, where was that shot?
There's a portion of the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank. It's called the Jungle, and then in the jungle there is the lagoon,
Okay.
which you can dress and paint and do whatever you need to. You can drain, et cetera, not to ruin the movie magic for everyone.
Yeah, always.
But that's the same lagoon that was the canal at which Lavon took Lemon to go
On the gondola?
Yeah, on the gondola, and it's the same one that that Lemon and George went skinny dipping in the first season, and it's very versatile. Our set decoration people are artistic directors on our show. We shoot the entire show on a studio lot, which gives us a great amount of control for an imaginary town. That when we shot the pilot, we would go to the front of the doctor's office and then drive 45 minutes and take the whole crew and the whole thing, and we'd have to drive across town to shoot inside the doctor's office. So we have a huge amount of control, and our crew is just incredible to make that jungle and that lagoon look different every single time. It's really incredible. But Dolly, it's my first time actually working with an animal.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was that like?
Her name's Jade. She's a pit mix, and I think she's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's funny to hear our animal wranglers talk about you. They're like, they wanted that type of dog. It's not the most extremely trainable of dogs. But I think that's kind of like the great charm of Tansy, is that she has, Dolly Parton is not who you thought Dolly Parton was going to be.
Right.
She's rough and tumble, and that dog is so cute, and it's so great. But the lagoon that night, they heated it to like 82 degrees,
nice.
so it was nice and warm.
Yeah.
Last year, a tree went down, ripped up a gas main, and they couldn't heat it.
Wow.
So when Jamie King and I skinny dipped, it was 61-degree water, which it sounds fine, right? You know,
But that's cold.
Stick your body at 60.
Yeah.
It's, it's 35 degrees less, colder than your actual
crazy.
body is. So it was fun to shoot. We did that in one scene, so one
that's
take.
good. Yeah.
We did it one take.
That's funny.
I have a very important question. How did they come up with the name Dolly Parton / why?
Hey, everybody loves Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
that's
Southern
true.
thing.
Yeah.
Country
But
star.
You know, I don't know. I that's part of our writers just doing their thing. I think that's what makes Hart of Dixie as unique as it is, because I don't really feel like there's another hour-long show like ours. You get a lot of our moments in half hours and in sitcoms and stuff, but you don't get an hour-long romantic comedy, basically, which is what we are, with a quirky side. And, you know, I think they just threw some names up on the board and said Dolly Parton, and then they'll write the backstory later, which they kind of heard tonight. Like, maybe that was the only thing that get her to stop whimpering when she was a puppy or something, is playing Jolene for her. And then
you want to sing it again?
I'm coming off a cold, so.
Well, we'll see you singing. We'll hear you singing quite a lot more.
Yeah, I sing in the very next episode.
Yeah.
Excited for that. We have to
Yeah.
wait 2 weeks for that.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
But
So, do you sing a lot? Like, tell us, what have you done so far?
I actually got my start singing. My
Okay.
mom was a singer, dad was a drummer, and we met in a rock band called Ruckus in the 80s.
what a story.
And so I was raised around music. I was my dad's roadie at like 5 years old. I had his drum set up, and I'd go play foosball with the bouncers at the
That's
door.
fun.
Fun.
But I kind of got my start singing in theme parks, actually.
Wow.
And before I booked my first TV show, Friday Night Lights, earlier that year, I booked my first acting job ever, which was doing a show called Altar Boys in New York.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
And I was one of the original cast, and it was a pretty special year for me. And then I got Friday Night Lights in my first pilot season there. So it's something that I did all my life, that once I started working in TV, I did less and less of. So I love the fact that they played to all of their actor strengths, and they chose to put this backstory of George. You know, I made up a backstory, and I pitched it a lot. I
There
said,
you
look,
go.
George's dad didn't want him to be in choir, so made him quit. And it's something that George has always held against his dad. You know, George and his dad have a little bit of a
Right.
rocky relationship. So these are things that you think of at night as if you're an actor just sitting on set going, well, why am I singing? Why is George Tucker singing? So that's what we kind of came up with, is that, you know, this is something he was passionate about, but, you know, just wasn't in the cards for him. So
Yeah.
being able to do it whenever he can is kind of fun.
It's fun to watch all of you sing, because you're not the only one who sings on the show. And we had Claudia Lee here, and she sang on the show, and it's fun to see. Even Wade, you know, it's nice to see that. For us as fans enjoy when there's singing in the show, because it shows another side to each character and a fun aspect of this show that you also don't get on many other shows.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of the cool charm of Bluebell, is that it's a small town, but it's big enough that we can be singing, and it makes sense for us. You
It
know,
does.
Turtle races and Shakespeare in the Park and whatever you do. We do all of these events, but they all fit perfectly. You know, it's its own character in its own right, and the fact that everyone gets to sing Laura Bell Bundy tonight.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
good.
great.
I've known her for years and years and years, and she's a Broadway veteran. And when she does television, a lot of times, you know, you've just got to tone it down. But they let her they wind her up and let her go. And it's really kind of cool to be able to see somebody be able to do that and not feel like it's out of place. You know, if you get like Bones, you know, the TV show Bones. Say Bones gets a musical episode. It has to be a special, and tonight a very special
Right.
Bones. You know,
Right.
it just doesn't fit, right?
Yeah.
But it's still fun. But it all, you know,
Yeah.
people it's a little jarring for people. But us, it fits, right? It works, and it doesn't feel like you're skipping a beat. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Everything with Heart of Dixie fits, though. I mean, I feel like because it's a small town show, they do things and you say, okay, that's okay, because you can just imagine that's what's going on, and things that are so filled with drama that wouldn't be in real life are just massive there, and it's fun to see it and not have to be a part of it.
Yeah, like Rick's birthday. That was a little.
Right?
It was an event in itself for sure. And you see, that's when start to see Lemons. You know, she's going to turn around at that point when Magnolia tries to sabotage it. Doesn't work out, kind of backfires. But I thought Laura Bell Bundy did amazing
Me
in that.
too.
I mean, Frank enjoyed it, right?
Oh my gosh, his face.
The guys were all like salivating.
But I was actually happy for her because I know, like, we've talked about Brooke and Shelby together, and we're like, I don't know about this. But, you know, I think she finally felt like kind of wanted by him. Now, like, the town knows, and he was happy to share that with people. So it wasn't that whole, like, stigma attached to the younger girl with the older doctor. But I don't know. I think that was good, and it was an interesting way to kind of bring it out.
How do you feel about your almost father-in-law and ex-girlfriend dating?
Yeah, I think George said it all in the Pioneer Days episode. He's like, if you're a doctor, why are you trying to kill me? Like, I don't want to hear any of this. This is not when they say don't go there. There is the there that we're talking about. And he, but at the end of the day, you see, it's been nice as a through line for this season for George and Brick. Is, Brick said earlier, when Lemon and George fell apart, he didn't feel like his daughter lost a fiance. He felt like he lost a son.
Right.
Because he's got 2 girls, and he raised them on his own, and, never had a boy. And that's probably why he has such an affection for Jonah as well,
Yeah.
You see him just beaming, so happy that his boy's back, And it's at the end of the day, he just wants Brick to be happy. And there's going to be a lot more of Shelby and Brick coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
And it's going to cause drama for a lot of people. And, Lemon's going to be looking for people to turn to try and deal with it,
Right.
wrap her head around it. And there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun coming out of that storyline.
Yeah, which right now, obviously, she doesn't have much support from anyone because she kind of lost her friends a little bit in that sense.
Well, George, that's the one thing about George. He's a good guy. At the end of the day, when he lost Zoe to Wade, he very simply went to Wade and said, look, if you're going to do it right. Make sure that you talk to her. Because that's something that he knows Wade doesn't do. Wade, share your feelings. Like, just talk to her and make sure that you guys are on the right track, And you wouldn't expect someone to do that. But that's kind of the sweetness of George shining through. Mm-hmm. And when he sees somebody get in trouble, like Zoe in the first half of season 1, he is going to step up and defend him, even if nobody else, it's not a popular decision. So you might see some more of that George kind of shine through as that storyline goes through. George actually has a pretty big part to play in it as it's going forward. But he cares for Brick. He knows that Shelby makes Brick very happy. And he hasn't seen Brick happy in that way. And, I mean, I think we've said 13 years.
13 years or something.
So
Kind of crazy.
he'll fight for that happiness.
Yeah. I personally don't mind Brooke and Shelby, but if our viewers and people who check us out on iTunes have opinions about it, it'd be great if you could comment. Tell us what you think. We love to know what you're thinking so we can kind of see different opinions of fans of this show. So rate, comment, tell a friend, especially check this one out because we have Scott Porter here with us. So make sure you go to iTunes.
And it looks like we have a question from someone. Is someone on the line, Steven?
No, we have a chat roll.
chat
Our
roll
live
question.
viewers on our chat roll want to ask you, Scott. We have 2 questions. We have, what is it like working with Cress Williams again after Friday Night Lights?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
As well as Allison would like to know that, like, having such an amazing cast and you work with them all the time, who's kind of like the favorite person you have that you might even hang out with outside of the show and everything like that? And I know it's singling someone out, but
No, I mean, all right, I can answer both of these kind of at the same time. I was the last man in kind of on the show. It was in the middle of a pilot season where I had been on hold for a different project, and Hart of Dixie was there and had kind of come back and come back again. And I saw that Cress got cast, and I knew Wilson from auditioning again. Both of us tested for Captain America for Marvel, but when I saw Cress get signed on, I was like, okay, you know what? Like, the Rachel of it all and the Jamie of it all is very interesting, and they're going to be such strong female leads. But then you see like Wilson and Tim Matheson sign on, and then Cress was second to last, and I was like, wow, okay, they've actually got like a crazy talented cast, and I don't care, I don't care that this is such a change of pace for me. Maybe this is exactly what I wanted, and Cress being as great as he is and as skilled of an actor as he is, and getting to know him in Austin when we were doing Friday Night Lights, we'd be in the gym together all the time down there, and he's got such a deep soul, and he's such a great man outside of being an actor, and when I saw him sign on, I was like, all right, you know what, I'm an idiot if I say no. I'm just going to jump in and let's just see where this goes. As far as like hanging out outside of work, you know, Cress and we go out to a little bar here in LA, and we'll do karaoke like once a month, you know. And
That's cool.
Wilson and I hang out a ton, actually, offset. Wilson and I hit it off in a big way when we were shooting the pilot, which is funny because him and I didn't work together on the pilot. But you know, I think we're very, you know, similar in age, a lot of similar likes and things that we love, and you know, it's very cool. But I love everyone on our show. Rachel and Jamie hosts game nights all the time, and you know, we'll go hit those up, and you know, it's a lot of fun, and we all support each other too. Wilson had his web series come out, Stupid Hype, and there wasn't a cast member that did not show up for his big huge premiere party. I mean, that's how close we are.
That's
like
awesome.
it's just, you are there for your fellow castmates things all the time. Last season I used to go and do like Broadway stuff with Deborah Craig, who played Shelly in season 1, and lo and behold, like 4 or 5, 6 cast members would show up just to support, you know, just a little cabaret and a little bar in Los Feliz, and it was, you know, it's really kind of cool, especially after working on Friday Night Lights. I have such high expectations for how casts should interact and how much of a family you really should be. But then over time, you know, you work on shows with more established actors who have, you know, crazy busy life schedules outside of work, like The Good Wife. You know, Juliana Margulies is fantastic, and she's a wonderful woman, but outside of work, she had a baby, she had a new husband and a new baby, she has everything that she's got going on, and you don't get really a chance to hang out with them. So this was a breath of fresh air again after doing a couple of different shows where I didn't get a chance to really become friends with people.
Everyone that's come in here has said the same thing, just how much fun it is to go to work, that they enjoy it so much.
You know what?
So.
You know who I do hang out with more than anybody else? Ross Phillips. He's like my little brother. Tom Long.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's like my little brother. I for some reason, I just want to put my arm around that kid and be like, kid, follow me. I'm going to show you the world. Because I think I started when I was about the same age as him. And, you know, I think I identify with him a lot. And so we went to the Walking Dead premiere for season 3 of The Walking Dead. And, you know, we were both like kids in a candy store. It's like one of our favorite shows on TV. And, you know, we talk TV all the time, talk music all the time. And he's a great guy.
I see you guys feuding over Twitter sports. I see that a lot. I was going to ask you about that. You're a huge sports fan, obviously, I'm assuming.
He's a damn Patriots fan.
Hey, don't knock him. Me too.
I'm a Broncos guy, so, you know, no love lost. But, yeah, that's kind of the cool thing as well, is that, you know, we have so many cast members that are just very multifaceted, you know, love sports, love music, love video games, you know, all these different things, and I have something in common with everybody on our show.
That's awesome. Okay, well, last topic of the night, let's talk about real quick, is the whole Lavon and Annabeth thing, because we got to get to that, because that's when you start to see Lemon. Once Lemon finds out her best friend has kind of betrayed her a little bit after she told her that she was in love with Lavon, Lemon is going to go back to, it looks like she's going to kind of revert to her old ways.
This is where being a guy, this is where I feel like this is a relationship that I look at completely in a different light.
Yeah.
You know, Cress Lavon says at the end of the show, when do I get to be happy? And it feels like Lemon has made every decision in his love life, even though she has moved on. Maybe she hasn't moved on. I don't know.
Right.
This is where guys don't understand women, I think, at the end of the day. Because all of you ladies, like, if you had a friend that knew that you were, like, kind of in love with a guy and then you started dating somebody else, what is there a statute of limitations on,
like a best friend?
There's like guy code, I guess, but I don't, like, what's girl code?
There's
I
girl
imagine it's
code.
stronger.
You don't do that. You don't mess with your girls. Not if it's someone like a serious relationship, which I guess, I don't know. It was serious for Lemon. She told Annabeth that. But, like, one of your best friends, they don't ever.
Yeah, girl code, you never.
don't.
Or years. Give it years.
Oh, man.
Not a couple months.
Yeah, for real.
That sucks.
Yeah, well.
That sucks because they may be the relationship on the show that I personally am rooting for the
Annabeth
most.
and Lavon.
Caitlin was such a great surprise for us because in the second episode of season 1, she was the other cousin. You know, it was like she was Lemon's, you know, friend, but her cousin was like the main focal point as far as guest stars that day. And this is why this is why I love our writers. You see a character like Frank, who is, you know, we know he works at the Dixie Stop, and you're going to see more and more and more of him. Dash, DeWitt, you see him all the time. Tom and Wanda. These storylines, evolve even for our smallest characters in the town because they cast such individual characters and they're so great. And Caitlin has just become, I think, a star on the show. I think Annabeth is such a great character. And I want to see Lavon happy.
I think we all do.
He's been the best guy on the show. He's been the one that hasn't wronged anybody, really. And, you know, I think he does deserve to be happy, but it's unfortunate that girl code it's a bond that's unbreakable, huh? You mess up like that, this is, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But I get where you're coming from, though, because they never really, although we obviously know that Lemon was in love with Lavon, they never really had a relationship. So they kind of had this, like, little thing for a while, and I don't know. I'm
love
split.
with him.
Part of me, like, agrees with you guys in girl code, whatever, but part of me is like, you know what? I don't know. Like, it wasn't actually.
Well, Lavon was her saving grace. You know, she was going through a really hard time. George was in New York. Her mom, you know, she was having all those feelings about her mother. And I think it was hard for her. And George wasn't there to support her in that. And Lavon was. And you remember the people you go through hard times with. And you will always connect those hard times with that person.
Well, that was still a wrong choice on her part.
Well, it was a wrong choice, but I think that's why she hasn't gotten over it yet, is because that's who Lavon is to her. And so, in that sense, even Annabeth, knowing what Lemon went through with her mother and with George, she has to stick by her side even more. I don't agree they shouldn't be happy, and I think Annabeth and Lavon would be great, but just the way, if she had approached Lemon prior to, you know, having sex with Lavon, I think it would be a different story.
Maybe. I mean, she knew.
I think the situation is only made worse because there seems to be a lack of communication on like several people's parts. Like, Annabeth will never say to Lavon, like, you know, you did kind of used to be in love with Lemon, and then like Annabeth won't tell Lemon. So it's just like,
you know, I always, before I moved out to LA and before I lived here, you know, if you're from the Midwest, you hear rumors about the West Coast, you know. So I used to always say, because I lived in New York for a long time, then I lived in the Midwest and stuff. I say, on the East Coast, they are honest to a fault. In the Midwest, they're honest if you ask them. And the West Coast, it's lie, 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 right? That's how I always like kind of looked at it. You've got to guard yourself accordingly. So you've got to understand that when you go to New York, you are going to have to kind of have a thicker skin. But they're honest if you ask in Bluebell. But you got to ask. And I think people feel like they're going to kind of overstep their bounds. It drives me nuts when I watch the show because I'm like, why can nobody say anything to anyone? Wait, just tell Zoe how you feel. Lavon, tell Anna, and tell Lemon to stop. Come on, guys, like just talk to each other. And then I drive myself crazy because, you know, there's been a number of times that George should just say, hey, look, all right, but he doesn't. You know, I think it's just because of the manners and respect that you have for people in a small town like that. But you're completely and totally right that all of these problems would get cleared up much quicker, but then we wouldn't have a TV show. So, you know.
You gotta have the drama. A little bit of drama there.
And what they didn't show us the whole like fourth base thing there too. That was
well, they're not about to show us.
They showed us 50 Shades of Grey. So
Wade and Zoe like all the time. So I just when she was like, oh, we like hooked up. I was like, oh wait, I thought there was just a kiss. So that was a surprise.
They left it that way though, because at the beginning of the episode, Whitney looked at me. She goes, "Did they have?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just thought they
kissed." She dropped a soup pan, and then you saw her leg kick up. Like you knew what was coming, right? Come on now.
Oh yeah.
For a woman of the South, though, like
girl. Well, she's been talking about that 50 Shades of Grey.
She's been talking about wondering how Lavon looks under those clothes since like episode 7 of season 1. So
could have expected it.
Yeah, and she used to be married, so I guess it's been hard for her.
Oh, yeah. I love Annabeth. I think she's such a firecracker. She's so funny, and I don't know. I was surprised though. I was surprised. She took me by surprise.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't know that anybody could play Lemon like Jamie King plays Lemon.
Yeah.
She's brilliant. But that's why I think that Caitlin pops too, is because Jamie's so great at what she does, and Caitlin has really, you know, she could have been like a carbon copy. You know, I think that a lot of people who would come into the show would be like, oh, I'm a Belle too. So everybody's got to kind of, you know, follow in line with whoever's leading the way. And Jamie, like I said, is such a force on the show that she could have been swallowed up. You know, Annabeth really could have been a character that is, you know, could have been a very forgotten character. And she's forged her own way. And I think in order to be somebody like Lemon's best friend, you have to have a little bit of an attitude of your own. And, you know, I think Caitlin really found the balance there.
That's true. That's true. Okay, well, before we round out to some news and gossip, what do you have going on that you can share with fans of the show? Anything just personally or other stuff you're working on, that kind of stuff?
We spent the better part of the fall getting ready and geared up for. I have a movie that's going to be coming out this year called The To-Do List with Aubrey Plaza and Rachel's in it as well. Connie Britton, my old Friday Night Lights
Look
mate.
at that. That's background.
It was going to come out on Valentine's Day, but they've pushed it until August. So it's kind of a really quiet spring for me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice. I just get to focus on these last 4 episodes. Sometimes when you work on a show, we started shooting in July, and you get to the last month of shooting, and senioritis, like when you're in high school, it starts that.
You're ready to.
Because every day, you're up at 5 and you're at work for 12, 13, 14 hours, focused on the show, and you have to keep it for 8 months. That focus for 8 months, and it's nice to not have the next job right away, so that I can just kind of really focus on these last 4 episodes. I think we will probably have another huge shift in that season 2 finale, like much like the one that we had in season 1.
Yeah.
And we all had to be on board and really, really ready to go when all the heavy stuff started happening in season 1. So, it's nice to kind of just sit back and kind of prepare.
Yeah, I would not doubt that for a second. Well, that's awesome. Okay, well, let's get into some news and gossip.
It seems like we have a special guest tonight.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's. What are you saying, Steven?
Bring him in.
I know who it is.
Oh, we have a special guest in the house tonight.
Here she comes.
Okay.
Oh, she's locked out.
I don't know if that's gonna work.
Take a guess.
Who could it be?
I'm your teammate.
That's what we've heard.
Screwed.
Yay! Thanks for joining us.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hi.
We did.
Hi. We heard about the game. He was talking to us about it earlier.
I'm just never going to get
What
over it.
happened though? You guys lost? Was it close?
We actually did not lose. We got screwed. And that, that for real. Like, it was no joke. Even the refs were telling me in my ear, and I was such a bitch because I was like, that wasn't a touchdown. And you'd be like, whispering in my ear. You'd be like, they said that we just got to give it to them. And I'm like, hey, they just said they're giving it to them.
But even before that, I had a surefire touchdown, and their coach comes off the sidelines with the towel and knocks down the pass.
Did you see that? That was awful. You were like, of course.
I saw it. Yeah, it happened right in front of my face. I was so mad, and it was by a professional football player, and I just walked over and I said, "Listen, Mr. Arian Foster, you do this for a living. This was like my one chance to score a touchdown on like national television."
Right.
And I was so excited. You know who else was pissed? Our quarterback was Jesse Palmer. I saw him later on that evening.
Oh, really?
We were
Was he
watching
so
at the
sour?
Justin Timberlake show.
So jealous.
Yeah, first time in 5 years, not so shabby. I watched it with Emmett Smith and Jesse Palmer, and Jesse just came over and he's like, "I'm still just fuming.
Yeah.
I cannot believe we lost." Yeah,
I know.
Watch it on DirecTV.
I saw that towel smackdown, and I'm like, really? And people, like, here's the thing. What people don't realize is the pros actually take it so seriously. They were really, really mad. I was really mad, too, but I'm always mad.
It was super competitive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
How'd you do last year? Did you all?
I
You've
did
played
well
in this
last
thing
year,
how many
yeah.
times, huh?
I play in it every year.
Every year.
I am like a staple.
So what's like your record right now?
Well, the DirecTV game, I always come through and I have a few good receptions, and I've sacked, Kurt Warner. Actually, no, Kurt Warner I did. Have you ever played in the Madden Bowl?
I have not.
Okay. Was this your first
This
ever?
No, I did something for a season kickoff 5 years ago, and I caught a ball, and Marcus Allen was covering me. I caught a ball, and I spin moved it, and I put a spin move on him, and I've got it on tape. I still have it on tape at home.
Isn't that funny? You're probably more proud of that than anything else.
It's on the same DVD as when I made SportsCenter. I'm a big Allen Iverson fan just because I'm a Georgetown fan.
I love
so
Allen Iverson, too.
I went to a Clippers-Nuggets game when they were playing, and he hit a game-winner 3-pointer with 2 seconds on the clock, and I leap up. I got courtside seats. The only time I ever sat courtside at anything. And I jump up into frame, and I get high-fived by Allen Iverson, and I was on SportsCenter. They air that thing every
That's
hour.
amazing.
So I DVR'd and then
Save that.
Saved it
Yeah,
to a
for
DVD. Yeah, so, you know, a couple of big sports
it.
moments, but we'll have to
Yeah.
go get them next year.
Well, I play in the Madden Bowl game. They generally do it in Malibu. And I think it was 2 years ago. Greatest day of my life. It was like divine intervention. It was as if God came down and said, you are going to be a football star today. I had 3 touchdowns.
Wait, I think I saw this. Did Zach Guilford play in
Montana.
that game?
I don't remember
Okay.
because I play in so many of them. It's hard to remember who was in what.
I think I saw your shining moment.
All I remember was Joe Montana and I were in a rhythm, and the fact that I can say that is sick. and within the first minute of the game, I sacked Kurt Warner, and he tried to deke me out, and I still caught him. And so he was sour. He's still to this day sour at me. He gets mad every time he sees me. Love you, Kurt. Love you.
Does he get sour because you remind him of it every
Yes,
time
of
you see him? Oh,
course.
okay.
And then I had a 2-point conversion. I was like off the charts. It was crazy. So at halftime, the guys that were like voting were like, it's you and Montana neck and neck for MVP. I'm like, shut up. Whatever. I ended up winning MVP of the game.
Oh, wow.
It was no joke. I was like on cloud 9 for the rest of my life. And then at the Super Bowl in Dallas 2 years ago, I played in the video game Madden Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was only because all the teams didn't show up because it was a blizzard.
Right,
And
right,
people
right.
were stuck. And the Electronic Arts guys come up to me. They're like, Menounos, we need you to step in. I'm like, guys, I haven't played a video game since Super Mario Brothers and Contra.
Right.
I don't know how to do this. And so they're like, please, please, please. I'm like, fine. So I got on a team with Patrick Willis and Chad Ochocinco, and we ended up winning the whole tournament. And now I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Wow.
For the first female to ever win, and my name is etched on this like Stanley Cup trophy. I'll be the only female for the history of like this event.
So you'd have to share it like 4 months out of the year with Willis and
No,
Ochocinco?
we don't get to like keep it, but it's a legit like every
That's
Hall of Famer, like
pretty awesome.
everyone's on it, and then I'm in this Guinness Book of World Records for it.
That's
Wow.
How does that happen?
I mean,
crazy.
I don't know. That's like my crazy life, but like that's my favorite thing that like I get to do is play in these games.
Yeah,
'cause-
I loved it.
But
It was
are
the
you
first time.
sore?
You know what? I wouldn't have been sore had we played on but we played on sand.
That's my point.
Yes, there were parts of my legs that I was just like, why? Where did this I run on turf all the time. I'm fine. You know,
Yeah.
that sand, running in sand was, and they gave us Reebok gave us these crazy shoes that have
yeah.
like tread on the like on the outside of the shoes. I guess they're specially designed to run in sand
Oh,
and stuff.
nice.
So it was fun though. I had a great time
So fun.
regardless.
Of the outcome.
Going to the Super Bowl is actually like going to a music festival and then having a football game break out. This weekend I saw
greatest time I've
CeeLo
ever
Green
had.
and Goody Mob. I saw Lil Wayne. I saw Justin Timberlake's first live performance in 5
so
years.
jealous.
I saw Stevie Wonder, a 70-minute Stevie Wonder set.
You saw
Wow.
Stevie too.
Yeah.
You got a lot in.
Then I got
I got
to see
a lot in.
I got to see the Roots for 2 hours at the tailgate. I mean, I was
Wow.
like, yeah.
He had
yeah,
a
it
good
was pretty
weekend,
awesome.
people.
Yeah, right. I know.
Minus the fact that did you tell her what happened in the airport?
What?
Oh God. Roxy, I'm so sorry. I'm so
If you're
sorry.
listening, Roxy.
Roxy, I'm so sorry. Yeah, and then she tweeted at me today. She's like, I know you took my bag at the airport because you're just sore that you lost.
Oh,
Roxy Diaz, so,
ouch.
over at Entertainment Tonight, she and I guess, were on the same flight back. And I was just so tired after the weekend, and we got a duffel bag, from playing in the game.
Yeah.
And so I saw that duffel bag come down on the
You took her
luggage
back.
carousel, and I've never done this before, but yeah, I took it. And then I got home and I opened it up, and I was like, "Why is there pink things?
Booty
in here?
shorts.
What is this? Why do I have an Entertainment Tonight camera case?
hilarious.
Yeah, it's
So
like, please call
funny.
this number to return this item. I was like, oh no.
Great.
So,
Another thing you gotta
again,
do.
I'm so sorry. I got to drive back to LAX tonight and drop off her bag so I can get my own.
Funny.
Sounds-
Are you really doing that tonight?
Yeah, I have to.
For real?
Yes, I have to. If you don't drive somebody else's bag back to the airport within like 48 hours, they say they're not responsible for what happens to your bag at that point. They only
Wait,
do
but
it.
where's your bag?
She was smart enough to look at the tag and it
left it
said
there?
Scott Porter, and she was like, "Oh, I'll just leave this here and hopefully figure out a way." Yeah.
See, now you
Yeah.
could have the nice exchange within like, a normal range rather than having to go to the airport.
Oh man,
You know what I say to
bonehead
that?
move.
balls. That sucks.
Crazy weekend.
All right, well, I'm going to let you guys continue on your discussion. I wanted to barge in way earlier, but I kept working, and so I was like, I'm going to now lift my leg as I've been doing. Like this today at Chili's, I had to lift my legs to cross them because I'm so sore from
I have
this
this little
game.
spot under my knee that I don't know what wraps around down here, but that's what's hurting for me.
Oh, yeah, I had that during Dancing with the Stars, that little bit here. Yeah, they have really great bands.
You wear them under.
Yeah, I had to wear them at different points when I was in a lot of pain.
Those are way different bands.
Anyway, well, thanks for coming to AfterBuzz.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
for
glad
having
that
me.
you were able to come in. You guys have been getting great guests from the show.
Yeah, they're awesome. Hart of Dixie rocks.
I love it. I love it. Who do we have left to get in?
We have Mallory Moy coming in a couple weeks, and then we're working on some other ones as well. So.
Very nice.
Anywhere I can go and just talk for like 40 minutes,
It's fun, right?
I usually enjoy it. I'm like,
Why not?
Chatty Cathy.
But it's great because, you know, with AfterBuzz, it's you guys, they're super fans of your show.
Well,
So it's like you're not going and getting interviewed by just anybody, like, which is cool. So that's why we love what we do here.
Yeah, it's much better than the interview where they're like, and you play.
Yes.
Wait, I'm sorry. So what's the show about?
Tell us about your character.
Disaster. Yeah.
I had to interview David Morrissey from Walking Dead today, and I'm like gushing. I'm like, oh my God, I can't figure it out. Like, are you evil? Are you good? I'm dying. Are you? So he was like, you're a big fan of the show. I'm like, yes.
I can tell you. I can tell you.
You know everything?
Oh, yeah.
How do you know? But see, that's the problem. That's the problem. You want to know, but you don't want to know.
No, you don't want to know.
Right?
I would never do that to you.
You don't want to know.
I would never do that to you.
Can't spoil it.
Never spoil.
Anyway.
I got no. I watch. All right. So I watch some reality shows. I don't call them reality shows. I call them game shows. If there's like if there's
Bachelor.
a $1 million prize at the end. I don't know if like winning another person is a prize. I don't know if that. But,
All right, wait, I need to hear what you're watching. Go ahead.
No. So I watch like So You Think You Can Dance, which I think I love that show.
I love
right?
that show.
But our schedules don't always allow us to watch them on time.
Yeah.
So I always put spoiler tags. Like on Twitter, I'm always like, spoiler, this and this and this. So I was like, okay, everybody out there, I'm watching the show, and I will tweet about it. And then somebody was like, I can't believe you're 6 weeks behind. This person won. This person went home. I was just like, it was terrible. And then I was like, why would you do that?
Twitter's the worst, especially when we watch Hart of Dixie because the East Coast watches before us. They tweet about it.
Oh, yeah.
Can't read it.
Can't go on for a couple hours.
You just got to shut the phone off, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to get spoiled, you can't live tweet anything. I've also learned that. I can't.
I know. I know.
Anyway.
The hardest is like I'll do that with like games, like because I'm like religious about my Patriots or my Celtics, so I will like.
God, you're knocking them.
So many
They're
in
a
this
great
room.
team.
I mean, it's the team.
I'm a Broncos fan, so
A what?
a Broncos fan. So I have rooted for you guys in the past. Oh, you know what?
I don't even know who you guys are anymore. Oh, well, actually, and no, you guys were good this year.
They were.
You
I was at the.
and I love.
I feel like I'm bad luck for the Patriots though, because I was at the.
Were you at the game?
Patriots Giants, not the second one. I was at the first one.
I was at both. Kill myself. It was awful.
You won a couple in the past decade. I think you guys are fine.
No, we have not won enough. I need another one.
Won enough.
No, we have not.
Every year it's a heartbreak, but you walk away and you just don't talk about it. You're like,
It never happened.
Yeah.
No,
never
it didn't happen.
But hold on. So you DVR games and you actually go back and watch them later.
Yes, and I won't. But this is what I do. I won't look at my email. It's a like very tragic business day for me because I won't look at my Twitter. I won't look at my like emails. Any emails that are coming through, if they're from anyone who's remotely going to spoil it for me, I won't look.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, I'm like psychotic about it.
Oh gosh.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Right?
I could take some pointers on that.
Yeah.
How not to get your favorite show spoiled
Exactly.
immediately.
Oh, goodness.
So it's a good thing you haven't spoiled Hart of Dixie for us tonight. We have stuff to look forward
Like
to,
I said,
right?
I would never do that to you guys.
I know. We trust
Some
you.
teases.
Yeah.
Some teases.
I know, right?
Well, good job, you guys. I was listening in, so
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
head
Thanks for
out
joining
now,
us.
Of course. All right.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. Take care.
You too.
All right. Bye, girl.
Bye. Okay, so let's round it out. We're going to do a little bit of news and gossip, and then we'll get into it for the.
Okay.
You got stuff for us?
I got
got a lot. I mean, I have some things written down, but following those great stories,
Right,
it's, you
good
know.
stuff.
But just the most important thing is probably Rachel Bilson is actually on 2 covers this month. So she is doing it out there. Cosmopolitan Australia for March 2013, which actually I guess is next month, but it is on stands now.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
So in the issue of Cosmo, she actually dishes about her personal style, and the article is about, you know, what tips she gives. And she says, wear what makes you happy and don't put too much thought into it.
Which we saw the commercial earlier. Shoe Mint. We're like, we got to get on that and check out some of her shoes there.
She is also in Women's Health UK for the March/April 2013 issue. And on the front cover, it says, get a belly like Bilson in 4 moves.
Girls, there you go. Pick up the magazines, read them on your flights.
Summertime is coming up, so you definitely want to have the 6-pack. She also comments on how to keep a relationship alive, and she says, communication is the most important thing in any relationship, and I'm terrible at it, and it's really caused a lot of problems lately. It's really important to communicate from the beginning. Set it up for the relationship to succeed. And I think that's kind of
what
ironic.
We've been talking about the entire night for Hart of Dixie.
So I guess it's art imitating life. That hit stands tomorrow, actually. But since we don't live in the UK, you could also find it online at womenshealthmag.co.uk. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, best part of the night. We got to get into predictions, so you'll have to let us know if we're anywhere close.
Yeah.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV.
I kind of have a good one, I think. I don't know if it's for real, but Jonah. I think him and Zoe might have a little something.
Yes, I see it.
I can see it happening. He's successful.
You just gotta watch the reactions over there.
Well, you talked about he's kind of a mixture, which I could tell between Wade and George, and I think that might be exactly what she needs. Although I'd be really sad because I do like Wade and Zoe, but I don't know. I could see something. He already kind of tried to ask her out.
He did.
And he's been reading about her on Dash's blog. So I'm just, we'll see. What's that little cough there?
This is like when Tim was here. We asked him if he had a woman in his future, and he didn't say anything. And then when the Shelby thing hit, we were like, oh, how could he not tell us?
That was unexpected.
I mean, Wade and Zoe are fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, there would have to be a lot of things that would have to happen for that to occur. But I can say that Jonah does stick around for a little bit.
Okay, well, who knows?
I'm excited for that.
Can I piggyback off of your prediction?
Yeah.
I wrote this down while we were watching. I think that Wade is going to break up with Zoe.
Really?
I don't know. I think he's going to get frustrated, or I don't know. I think he's going to. I think it's going to be him breaking up with her. I don't know that.
I think he needs her right now. He needs her to kind of help him get started with this bar idea.
He needs the financing?
No, I just think that she's supportive. I don't know. Okay, who else? Who has some?
Sugar mama. Is that what you're getting at?
I think so.
I was kidding.
I personally, my thoughts go towards Annabeth and Lavon. I think, yes, she says no tonight to him, but I think Lemon's really going to go hard at her, and I think she's going to be forced to kind of abandon her allegiance to her and go for what her heart's feeling, because she's your best friend, but if she starts going Lemon on you, I would jump ship real fast. I think, because she's scary. Lemon's very manipulative and
if she
intense.
comes back around, right? We'll see.
I'm gonna go a different direction, and we've been talking about a wedding coming up. I think someone hinted at that, or someone told, I can't remember how we found out, but we've heard that there's a wedding, and we all thought that it was gonna be Tom and Wanda, which I'm still not sure that, I don't think that's what will happen, but now I'm starting to think maybe Brick and Shelby. Possibly.
There is a wedding coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
There is officially a wedding coming down the pipe, but you might be in the neighborhood.
It's Tom and Wanda.
because we've been.
It has to be. I hope it is.
A spoiler alert, in case you didn't hear me say it the first time. A couple weeks ago, the lady from
That 70 Show.
That 70 Show is coming on to play Wanda's mom.
So
why would she be there?
Right.
Wanda's getting married.
We'll see.
But back to Brick and Shelby, I think that he's at the point in his life where he's obviously on the older side, and she's just like very eager and very much into the relationship and kind of trying to take on this almost motherly role to Lemon and to Magnolia, who aren't really having it at this point at all.
Yeah.
But I can see that kind of causing some drama with them if maybe they don't get married, but I have a feeling Brick might propose. I was going to say engage her. Brick might propose her.
He's already doing that.
He's got that under control.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could see it because I feel like their relationship is very fast-paced already, and it would almost just make sense to have that happen. But
I don't know. We'll see. You got anything for us? Any teases you can share?
I think I teased a couple of things earlier.
You have. We'll see some more come around, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely. I talked about it earlier. There's developments in the Shelby Brick relationship for sure, and seeing how the girls react to it is really going to test this whole Lemon 2.0 situation.
Right, that's what I would guess.
I'm adding to my prediction. I think they're eloping. Just saying that right now.
Okay, well, y'all have to stay tuned to check out Hart of Dixie. I know we'll be back in 2 weeks, but before we wrap up, can you tell where they can find you on Twitter and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm just my name at Scott Porter on Twitter.
So you can follow for any updates for George Tucker, right?
And on Instagram, I'm at Skittish Kid, SKITTISH Kid, KID.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
And I always throw up pictures that might be a little spoilerific for Hart of Dixie folks. Yeah, so.
We'll keep into that because super fans of the show. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Whitney Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Whitney Lane 1118.
Hi, I am Paige Sullivan. Thank you again, and you can find me on Twitter at Paige Sull or at perfectpage.com.
I'm Christine Archer, and you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at CArcher.
I'm Michelle Renee, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Michelle Renee LA.
And thanks for joining us, Scott. We had a blast tonight.
Yes.
So head to AfterBuzz TV, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.